Are you ready to feel the heat inside the Meadowlands arena where the brainbusters of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with Bobby the Brain Heenan as their manager, the new WWF Tag Team Champions, take on the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, in a clash of two tremendous tag teams, a technical classic to kick off this tremendous event, and then Mr. Perfect and the Red Rooster, where we decide Terry Taylor's too cocky, so we'll make him a rooster. Ha ha, it's such good shit, pal. And we have Jim Duggan and Demolition as the bondage enthusiasts taking on Andre the Giant and the Twin Towers. Demolition will topple the Twin Towers. Should have workshopped that, pal. But then we get Zeus and Macho King Randy Savage and Sensational Sherry, with Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake on the other side. With Miss Elizabeth, it's no holds barred inside the ring, inside the Meadowlands arena. Everything will explode. Ha ha ha. I'm Joe Renton with the Retro View WWE SummerSlam 1989. God damn it, that Vince McMahon impression was a really bad idea. I need to recover that at some point, but it's such good shit, pal. Ha ha ha. Yeah, SummerSlam 1989, the second SummerSlam pay-per-view ever. It was a good follow-up to 1988. Granted, Miss Elizabeth did not sort of flash the audience like she did at the previous event. Boy, howdy, that was nice. Not exactly a flash, but whew, boy, Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth, my first ever wrestling crush. Granted, I was like 8 years old when I noticed this, but nevertheless. So, 20,000 fans, legit sellout, and they got to witness Dino Bravo against Coco Beware in the dark match. They really didn't know what to do with Dino Bravo, did they? Then again, Dino Bravo really didn't fit in WWF. I mean, he made money, and then sold illegal cigarettes, and then got his shot at the remainder of his career. Okay, that was a dick move. So, feel the heat. Tony Schiavone and Jesse Ventura introducing us to the Meadowlands Arena, which became the Brendan Byrne Arena, not the Gabriel Byrne Arena, which would have been hilarious because what happened to him in Hereditary. God, man, Tony Collette really should have gotten a goddamn Oscar for Hereditary. But that being said, they introduce us, and then the intro, by the way, is various wrestling talents that are on the card competing in the ring, intermixed with like summer activities. They go from Jimmy Snuka to a happy couple and a man dragging his girlfriend into the pool. Oh boy, that's something right there. Avoid the stairs, everybody. Watch out. It's Jimmy Snuka, the goddamn murderer. And more, kid eating ice cream and everything, and Bret Hart and all this stuff going on, and all these people competing. And then we have the brainbusters of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard just a couple months away from when they would leave. And go back, and then Jim Herd would screw over Tully Blanchard on his deal and cut Arn Anderson's money because Jim Herd was a dick, and I'm sad to say is still alive after what he did to professional wrestling. Bobby the Brain Heenan was in their corner, and we had the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And then also referee Joey Morella, 3 of the 6 people are said. Bret's still alive, Arn's still alive, Tully's still alive. Just sad, just really sad. But it's a shame we never got Bret versus Arn or Bret versus Tully in a series of singles matches. I would have loved to have seen that. Even in the WWF environment, it would have been really nice to see. Maybe they happened on house shows. I don't know. Good classic tag team wrestling to open. Really good stuff. Very enjoyable. You can't go wrong with these 4, especially at this point in their careers. Heenan, the distracting spot, and then Arn ended up hitting Bret and then covered Bret holding his head while Tully powered out because Tully was hurt. 1, 2, 3. Good opening match. Really good crowd energy. In fact, the crowd was up for most of this show. That's the thing. WWF at this point was on fire. They were feeling the heat. They were doing a whole bunch of right things despite the main event. Oh boy, that main event. Mean Gene with Dusty Rhodes in a cop hat, a nightstick, and polka dots. Dusty turning the polka dots around on Vince and shoving them in his face was kind of funny, if you will. Also, Dusty had his own polka dot on his side. That's mean. Dusty Rhodes took on the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart. Dusty still... The fact that Dusty's been gone for like just over 8 years now. Jeez. Hardly. Crowd loved Dusty, polka dots and all. This wasn't exactly like a technical classic, not that you would expect that from Dusty at this stage of his career, and Honky Tonk Man really never being all that great in the ring. He got more by just being a gimmick. And we did get a ref bump. Jimmy Hart went to swing the guitar. Dusty ducked. Ducksty, as it were. And Honky got hit. That was a flush guitar shot, too. It's a shame it didn't. The same thing happened to Jake Roberts didn't happen to Honky. Nevertheless, 1, 2, 3 after an elbow. Dusty gets victory. The it would be funny to hear a British person say the beginning of his theme. Think about it. Now stop thinking about it. So, Mean Gene is with Demolition and Hacksaw Bondage Duggan, because he was in the Demolition mask, and he was recently the King of Wrestling. Because Harley Race, I believe, had left the company by this point, if I remember right. And Duggan had beaten King Haku. So we get Mr. Perfect versus the Red Rooster. Fun fact, according to Terry Taylor, and I think according to others, but mostly Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster and Mr. Perfect gimmicks were thought of on the same day. Thankfully, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, got the Mr. Perfect gimmick. Terry Taylor was a very good wrestler. Not a dynamic personality. Kurt Hennig was. This match did not take very long. It really didn't. I think it was like 3.5 minutes bell to bell. Perfect Plex, 1, 2, 3, and there we are. Mean Gene is then with Rick Rude and Bobby Heenan. I believe, was it this one, or was it SummerSlam 1990, where the thing fell, like the sign fell, and Mean Gene's, fuck it. Because he did all those pre-tapes and then slot him in to the pay-per-view broadcast. I'm trying to remember if it was here and they just added off the Peacock feed, or if it was SummerSlam 1990, because some of these things blend together, but Mean Gene was just a delight. And then the Rockers with Tito Santana as their third man. Who's the third man? Ariba? Not Ariba McIntyre. God damn it, Bobby Heenan. God damn it, Bobby. Oh. So, against Fabulous Rougeau Brothers and the model Rick Martel. Or was he just Rick Martel? Was he even the model at this point? I'm trying to remember. I don't think he was a model yet. With Slick and Jimmy Hart in their corner. Bobby Heenan was all over the show, but he was not in this match. Jimmy Hart does not get talked about enough as being one of the premier wrestling managers of all time, in my opinion. It's Heenan, Cornette, and Heyman that get talked about the most. I'm not saying Jimmy Hart, from a lot of longtime fans, doesn't get the respect that he deserves, but I feel like some newer fans really need to go and check out the Memphis stuff, check out the WWF stuff. He wasn't really allowed to be Jimmy Hart, and do much in WCW, but he's 80, 81, and still has the goddamn energy, and still looks basically the same. Love me some Jimmy Hart. He'd be on my Mount Rushmore of wrestling managers. In fact, it would be Heenan, Jimmy Hart, Cornette. I don't know if it'd be J.J. Dillon. Sherry. I'll throw Sherry there. I'll throw Sherry on there, just for fun. Heyman would be below that, but it would be Heenan, it would be Jimmy Hart, it'd be Cornette, and it'd be Sensational Sherry. So, nevertheless, Gary, God, there's so many great managers. Gary Hart deserves an honorable mention. Let's talk about the rest of this. Tito won a revenge on Martel for Mania 5, the whole Strike Force dissolving. This was given some time. This was well worked. Crowd was very into it. Tito and Martel got a chance to really do a lot of great shit here. The crowd was up. We got a melee. We got a roll-up, but that got stopped by Martel. He hit a move and then covered 1, 2, 3. And the heels powder out. I did love the Rougeau's theme. We're all American boys. We're all American boys. Why do I sound like a stroked out Adam Sandler? I don't know. And then Shivani videos a package on Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. I forgot that the 1989 Rumble, the second ever Rumble, was at the Summit in Houston. Wonder what Paul Bosch thought of that. Really wonder what... Oh God, I think Paul Bosch died in 89, actually. So, nevertheless, then again, Paul Bosch was really, really old. But, we have this, from the Superpose now and all that stuff, Mania 5, where Heenan held the foot of Warrior, so he got counted down. And then he injured Heenan's neck once again, because that's all that Warrior knew how to do. But then Warrior's like, Rick Rude, you will feel the power of the Warriors. 1, 2, 3, go. Bet that's what he sounded like, when he died. By the way, fuck the Ultimate Warrior. I'm glad he's dead. Wife should have gone with him. Anyway, so Ultimate Warrior runs out to the ring to a pop. This is after Rick Rude did his SummerSlam sweat hogs thing. I wonder if Vladimir was in attendance for this. I didn't see any of the crowd shots, but he was always in attendance for these. Why did they not release that documentary or little biography piece they did on him? Why? Like, that would have been cool to see. He was at so many events. Anyway, Rick Rude with Heenan against Warrior for the Intercontinental Championship. Mania 5 revisited. And Warrior just did this, and I'm going to beat you, Rick Rude. Ow. Man. Rude herniated every disc in his goddamn back and earned his goddamn payday carrying Warrior. Warrior was super over, could sell tickets, and Vince McMahon got the fans on his side. As a kid, I loved Warrior. I'm not going to lie. But looking back on, he couldn't work to save his goddamn life. He couldn't do anything. Think about it. From, 85, late 85 in Memphis. By the time he signed with WWF, he had been in wrestling for 2 years, maybe. He'd been briefly in World Class. He'd been briefly in Mid-South before that. And then Vince McMahon said, okay, this guy could work. And look, he had that, uncoachable intensity, energy that you can't teach. You have it or you don't. You can bring it out to somebody if they have it, if they're unsure, but you can't manufacture it. And that's the one thing about Warrior. He definitely had the energy. Couldn't wrestle. And that was proven here. He press slammed Rude to the floor. That had to hurt. And then they go outside the ring. This is the most memorable thing of Jesse Ventura's, the last couple of years of Jesse Ventura's run in the company, where Warrior has the Intercontinental Championship. The referee is aware of this, and Warrior hits Rude with the title. And Ventura, rightfully so, is saying, that's a disqualification. Where's the referee? And then Shivani's like, well, it happened outside the ring, Jesse. And he's saying, so what? What are you going to tell me next, Shivani? You can shoot someone outside the ring as long as it's outside the ring? You're worse than Gorilla. And I thought he was an idiot. And I love Shivani, don't get me wrong, but Ventura rightfully so calling this out. And then Rude tried everything to make this work. And then we get a ref bump, and Warrior fires back up. Rude hits a goddamn fist drop that I'm not sure if Warrior's supposed to move or if he had Warrior in the wrong spot or what happened. But Rude hit it and then just kind of had to, spring over him. And then covered. And then here's Piper out to a pop. And Rude had hit a pile driver. And then Piper moons Rick Rude. And then Warrior hits like a belly to back, more like a German off the ropes. And then hits the press slam, hits the splash. 1, 2, 3. New old champ. He regains the Intercontinental Championship. If you think about it, if Rude hadn't won the championship at Mania 5, and Warrior had held it from SummerSlam 88 to Mania, Warrior would have beaten. He would have beaten Honky Tonk Man's record. Could you imagine that? Warrior being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion? I think we'd be better off with Honky Tonk Man. I never thought I'd say that. But he would then go to Mania 6 and be crowned the new champion, the new WWF champion, and then they didn't really give him anything to work with. I'll admit that. They didn't give him much to work with. He could work with DiBiase. He could work some with Savage. They brought Rude back for SummerSlam 90. But nevertheless, Mean Gene with Mr. Perfect. This is when we just went into a bunch of promos. And I think this was originally on the tape where they just did it to kill time and kind of cool the crowd down. But Mr. Perfect, he's going up. Nothing's going to stop him. He's all the way up. And here's Piper. Yeah! He's fired up. He was going to go after Rick Rude, and then the Bad News Brown feud. Granted, Bad News Brown was a piece of shit, but yeah, that wasn't a good move by Piper. That wasn't good at all. And then, sudden onset Ron Garvin, who left the NWA, I want to say, right after Great American Bash 88, or sometime after that, because
I don't know if he was upset with Dusty or what the hell it was, but nevertheless, he's in a suit. He's going to be a guest ring announcer. Because if there's one thing that you want to, the one strength you want to focus on Ron Garvin, it's his talk. Oh, probably not a good idea. And he and Rude are upset. And this is all to kill time. And Rude is determined to take down Warrior again and regain the Intercontinental Championship. He never did that, by the way. And then we get a package on the main event. How we got here. And Zeus. We took a character out of a movie and brought him into the real world. I don't think Vince really thought that through. Well, what wasn't thought through was the next match. Duggan and Demolition against Andre the Giant and the Twin Towers with Slick and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Duggan is the Bondage King with his 2x4. Demolition will topple the Twin Towers was a sign. I don't know why that made me laugh. Probably because I'm a sick individual. Demolition can't... Nope, not going to say that. Not going to say it. Late stage Andre was really sad to watch, is what I noted. This was 7.5 minutes. I mean, Andre at one point was going to do something on the ropes and, just like do a move to, I believe it was Axe. I think it was Axe. And he just fell on him. It was just so, and nothing against Andre. Bless Andre. I mean, one of the best to ever do it. One of the biggest attractions ever in professional wrestling. But my God, those last few years are just really sad to see. In all honesty, the end should have been Mania 3. It really should have been Mania. That should have been the end. And Vince should have just paid him whatever. Beat him. Bastard of the company, whatever. Just, I don't think it would have extended his life much longer, but it definitely didn't. And I know Andre wanted to keep doing it. He wanted to keep wrestling. He loved wrestling. That's why he showed up at an NWA, WCW event, I want to say sometime in 92, because he wasn't under contract to WWF, and he wrestled in Mexico and Japan, and I want to say he wrestled in one of those countries, perhaps both, just weeks before his death, mostly in multi-man matches. But this wasn't exactly a technical classic, not that you would expect that. At one point, Smash slammed the towers. I'm just going to let that marinate right there. And then Duggan slams his wood all over Akeem's back, and we get the count 1, 2, 3. I believe Smash covered him. Crowd loved it. Crowd definitely loved it. Then Mean Gene was with DiBiase and Virgil. Ted DiBiase said something to the effect of calling Jimmy Snuka a primitive native eating coconuts and bananas. Not quite as bad as what Roddy Piper did to him. Pineapple, frizzy on top, big body. Didn't get you a tree to climb up and... How did they get away with that stuff? Like, you talk about WWF being, like, the land of cartoonish wrestling. There was a lot of really bad shit in the 80s. There's a lot of really bad shit. Speaking of bad shit, Ron Garvin is a ring announcer. And I love Ron Garvin. One of the toughest guys, like, of his era. Probably shouldn't have been NWA champion, especially in 1987, but it was what it was. He's upset with Greg Valentine and basically gives him a bad introduction. Then Greg Valentine with Jimmy Hart took on the Mighty Clean and Jerkules. That's what I always called him. Even as a teen, I really have issues when it comes to wrestling. And Hercules Hernandez, great talent. It was a lot easier to watch him in Mid-South. I forgot that he had a brief stint in WCW. This didn't last long. We got a melee, and then we got Greg Valentine using the ropes with the roll-up. 1, 2, 3. And then Garvin, declares Hercules a winner, and then declares Hercules a winner by disqualification when he's questioned. And then Valentine shoves him. And then Ron Garvin lays him out, and that will build to their submission match at Royal Rumble 1990. Where they kept trying to cover each other in a match where you can only win by submission. So... why did Sensational Sherry have a cauldron with Savage and Zeus? What was happening there? Don't get me wrong, I love Sherry. Sherry is my second crush in wrestling. That awakened maybe the fact that I like the crazy woman. That would play out throughout my life. Anyway, Jimmy Snuka, renowned murderer Jimmy Snuka, I should say, took on Ted DiBiase. the man that liked to rip off millions from Mississippi. They could say his son did it, but you know what? Ted's one of those religious types that just seems like the type that would do that. Virgil was in his corner. DiBiase's, not Snuka. That would have been weird. Vince, sticking with the murderer, bringing him back. This is after Snuka had been gone from the company for a few years. Worked in the AWA. Mostly worked in the AWA. He worked in a couple other places, probably in some early independents. Ted bumping his ass off. Snuka missed the leapfrog. Good job. Good job, you fucking murderer. By the way, fuck Jimmy Snuka. I'm glad he's dead. And then Snuka attacks Virgil. We get a post spot and we get a count out. They couldn't even have Snuka get beaten clean, but it was his first match back. It was Jimmy Snuka at the tail end of his career that he shouldn't have had after 1983. I'm just saying, Vince paying off the goddamn police chief or police people, somebody to get that goddamn, case to go away or go cold. Like Jimmy made Nancy go cold, fucking murderer. Anyway, let's get back to Snuka, then attacked afterwards. Mean Gene interviews Hogan and the barber. How coked out were they? Probably a lot. Hogan parted a river, and then Beefcake mentioned that these are titanium blades. Titanium. Best wordsmith. So then Hogan said a woman had his legs wrapped around him, headlights that could light up anything, and was riding him in the river. What was Hogan on exactly during this promo? I have questions. I really don't want answers to. So the genius is out there, Lanny Poffo, that Randy got a job for. And look, Lanny was not a bad talent. He was not somebody that was ever going to light the world on fire, but he was fine. Rest in peace, Lanny Poffo, who had a unique way of talking. I say as somebody that was the brother of Randy Savage, but nevertheless. So we get the intros for Savage and Zeus along with Sherry, Hogan and Beefcake, but Miss Elizabeth is not there. Oh, she's there, and sweet Christ, Liz looked great. God, she looked great in red. She looked good in anything, or nothing, I imagine, but let's move on. Ventura says that she's a gold digger. No, Hulk, do not say the second line of that. No, Hulk, no, God, put the spray paint down. Oh, Jesus, he did again. He did again. He talked about the broke. I'm not going to say it. Don't you dare say it in the comments. And then Tony Tiny Lister, who would go on to be the president in the Fifth Element. I mean, he would be in Friday, obviously. I remember him as the president in the Fifth Element because I was just so wild. Apparently, super nice guy, gracious to his fans, passed away a few years ago. Nice guy, very, very, very good at being just a big guy that was great at comedy. One thing he wasn't good at is wrestling. And I think he knew that. He was supposed to be a big guy, not really do all that much, and he was a character from a movie brought into the goddamn real world. This was just about Savage having to bump his ass off. He did his elbow drop later, and Hogan no-sold it. Because of course he fucking did. Because that's what Hogan does. Hogan will no-sell anything because he knew the Savage was better than him. Yes, Hogan would Hulk up often, but whatever. Beefcake was not bad in tag teams. As a singles wrestler, he was not great. He was over for a time. I liked him as a kid. Then he had that parasailing accident. Come parasail away with me out my face. Okay, that was rough. That was rough. Why did I say that? Let's get back to the review. Sherry had a loaded purse, so that got involved. And then Hogan hulks up. Out of nowhere, Cinder Hogan story. And then Sherry got shoved in by Liz. It's a melee. The loaded purse got used on Zeus. That's how he beat a giant man like that, was with a loaded purse. And then the slam and the leg drop, 1, 2, 3. Right when Sherry was getting in, I'm going to hit him with the purse. And, oh shit, 3 count. Oh God, I'm fucked. And then Sherry gets hit by Liz with the purse and gets her hair cut. Sherry's always wanted to do anything for the goddamn business, and that's why Sensational Sherry is on my Mount Rushmore of favorite managers. Because she was great talent, she was a great manager, and she was just great all around. So, SummerSlam 89. Okay, this match, this main event, not great, but the crowd loved it, and that was 20,000 people going really, really crazy. So anyway, agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.